Hi, Mythologist. It's Professor Duncan / Al again, checking in on how to actually grade one of your classmates' discussion thread posts. This basic instruction will apply both to discussion threads, which we have to do for this coming Tuesday, but then also for future assignments, future papers. We're going to be using this peer review process frequently as we move on through the course. So I want to give a brief overview of it now. However, because I'm recording this on Tuesday night, the 15th, we're a bit ahead of schedule. This assignment has actually not closed yet, so I can't actually get within the peer review system quite yet. However, what I can do is, as an instructor, go into my instructor view, which is practically the same. So I wanted to give this recording now so it will be useful later. Actually getting to this page will be a bit different. I'll make sure to add a post, probably a verbal, not a video post, making clear how to get to this stage. But once you're here and you're ready to grade, here I'm grading test student, who is me in this case, and we're ready to grade discussion thread 1. So what I want to do here is I want to follow the rubric. I might think this is a great myth. I might think it's a terrible myth, poorly analyzed. That doesn't really matter. We're going to be jury members here, and what we need to do is make sure that the law was followed. Well, what's the law in this case? It's the rubric. It's this grading scheme that we've set up and which you hopefully consulted in completing your assignment to make sure that we're all on the same page and you know what could get you full credit. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 categories to this rubric. First one being the myth itself, and the categorizing of that myth, the type of myth, its influences or parallels, its length, its grammar and its presentation, and then well-reasoned, it's kind of generally thought out if that wasn't somehow caught in these earlier categories. So myth, has the author written a myth? Is the story coherent? So you could assess the coherency. There might be a little bit of ambiguity there, but I think this is a fairly coherent myth that I wrote about jelly beans and dragons. So I'm going to go, of course, giving myself here full credit, but I think that's fair. And then I categorize it. Has the author made an attempt to categorize and describe their myth? An origin myth. All right, so that's the category. There's no mention of divinity or maybe a causal divinity. It would have been nice to say a little bit more there, but there is a monster. So that's somewhere between 1 and 2. Let's give it the full points. It's always okay to be generous, I think. Influences. So there's a myth and theme in history, which we'll see in Ovid's Metamorphoses. Oh yeah, I remember writing that. I remember that I did, point out a reasonable parallel and discussed whether it was conscious or subconscious. I probably should have done a bit more there, but again, we'll give full marks. Length. Definitely less. This whole thing was something like 208 words, and that's even giving these categories. So was it between 250 and 500 words with 200 words used for analysis? No. So it wasn't even close to 250 total, but short on analysis. So it's no marks. That's a point where it really, there's no ambiguity. I did not do well on that assignment, or that aspect of the assignment. Grammar presentation, some of it's a little bit shorthand, but relatively minor errors, so that can receive full marks. And then, of course, bias here, but yeah, I think it did pretty well there, and it's good to be generous on your assessment. So this total will get 8 out of 10, and you'll notice that as I was clicking each box, points were popping up here on the far right column. So you can see that it changes there. In theory, you could get funky and do something like that, but don't do that. Click and click in the boxes. That's what they're there for. I guess in a larger assignment where you really could have something in between, you can always just do a numeral entry. But then you can also leave specific comments for the author. I would only recommend doing this if you think it's going to be helpful. You could also give full comments on the whole assignment elsewhere, but say it would have been nice to see a bit more from your strengths and weaknesses, Professor Duncan. You don't need to use names. That could be a little bit personal, I suppose. But you'll see names. This won't be anonymous. But our classes are so large, and we're actually mixing the two sections, it's practically anonymous. But there we go. We've got that comment made, and we can see that this comment bubble has become a little bit more opaque because there is actually a comment there. So we can save this. And this isn't actually grading the student. It's not determining what they're going to be getting in this class, but they're going to be able to see this and take those comments to heart. That's the whole idea, to know that somebody else is reading what you're putting down, picking it up, and making it interesting. And then add a comment. This is, you could say, good job. You could say, terrible. Let's be positive. These aren't anonymous, which hopefully will mean that we won't get into catty comments. But there we go. Also, you'll see here, you can attach files. If you have a picture, you can attach media if you pre-recorded something. You could also go into speech recognition and just talk into your computer microphone. Leave your comments that way. That's easier at home than at the library, but we've got a lot of options. Canvas is actually pretty good at taking care of these. So, quick note. I followed this chart. I viewed the rubric to bring it up and then clicked on the buttons. This is how we're going to know that you actually did review one of your classmates. If you only offer verbal comments in this box, when the TAs and I go to check, hey, did you do your 2 reviews, this actually won't show up. You'll need to give them a number through this rubric system in order for us to say that, yes, you have done your job as a good citizen of this class and reviewed one of your fellow classmates' assignments. So do this. This discussion down here is optional, but it is a place for you to give synoptic comments, that is, comments that deal with the entire perspective of the discussion thread. So again, this was for discussion thread 1, which is due this coming Friday, January 18th, and then the reviews are due by the following Tuesday. I believe it's the 22nd. However, this will apply to future assignments, papers, etc. And at that point, with the papers, we're actually going to have a rough draft stage that's then reviewed, and then a final draft stage, which will actually be counted. So this review process, instead of just being kind of a good exercise as it is here, will actually be important for the original author, in this case test student, to make a better final product, something that he or she could be proud of, something that's been proofed by a classmate and given a thumbs up. So collaboration at its finest. This is what Canvas allows us to do, even in a giant class. Best of all, it's all paper-free. So I hope that was clear. And again, I'm always available via email, al.duncan@utah, to field further questions on this. I know Canvas can be a bit confusing, but it is really a powerful course moderating software package. And I think it will be worth our while to put some investment in learning how to work it in this first few weeks. These first few weeks, and then be able to cash in on its efficiencies as we continue throughout the course. So until the next video tutorial, I'll see you then. Take care.